Hey, welcome to the Mr. Insurance Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, and somebody I respect very highly in business, Matt Evans. Matt has his own insurance agency. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I love seeing your podcast and everything you're doing. Been in the insurance industry for 25 years, fee-based insurance. We really focus on, I'd say, tax strategies for business owners, and then mortgage-free life is the second kind of stool, so to speak. And so it's been great. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Tell me a little bit about how it. I always find it really interesting people's stories of how they got into the business. Like,
Yeah.
did you have a family member, or did you just like? You go to like me, like I went to like a dog and pony show
Yeah.
and was drunk when I went in there the first time. And you know, didn't take it seriously at all. But
So my mom was TWA. Remember TWA?
golly, that's like,
They
are
moved
we
to-
are we that old?
Yeah, she was a single mother. TWA was, they wanted to force her to go to Kansas City.
Okay.
And she's like, I ain't moving. So she had a friend from TWA that owned a brokerage general agency.
Mhm.
And she basically went to them and she was like crying, like, I need a job.
Yeah.
So she was their second employee. She was there for 35 years, 40 years,
Holy
her
cow.
entire career.
Yeah.
So she was their second employee. And I used to go in and I used to put in the checks in the mail slots because they had mail back then. And I would see these, I would see these
It's
massive,
crazy.
I would see these massive checks and I'd be like,
Is that like where you used to like punch your time card in or
Right,
whatever?
right,
And it would
yeah,
be
yeah.
Like, it sounded like somebody was getting shot,
yeah.
you know?
And so I would do the mail. I would do any odd job just to make money as a kid. And I would see these checks and I'm like, man, what are these guys doing?
Man, that's crazy. And then you've grown your agency. So, you know, we were just talking about like your agency is like a big deal right now. Like you guys are like way up, and you and your team were able to achieve getting into some of the higher rankings. As far as you tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was definitely a blessing. And, you know, God moves in different ways, right? And you just never know what he's going to do. But we moved to a very large IMO in September of 2023. And in 4 months, we became their number one life agency. And really all we did was educate people, educate clients on tax strategies, educate them on things that nobody else talked about. Everyone always talks about value and how do you bring value. And they think value is, let me pay you more or let me
Right.
screw you over here. And we just educate agents on value.
I mean, like all the tax strategies that you know, I don't even think I could keep up, even if you wrote them all out into a book of all the different things, because the things that you have personally helped me out with and the things that you've talked to me about. I mean, it's like, you know, hey, your kid's 7 years old. Let's put him to work. You
Yeah.
know, we can use him as a write-off. Funny story with that. I actually I thought I was being silly when my kid was being born. I was still a little more immature than I am today. Okay. And so I bought my, for my wife's push gift, you know, like she's thinking I'm getting her a purse or something like that. I got her a baby t-shirt or whatever that said like tax write-off, you know, on there. So, but,
That went over well, I'm
right.
sure.
Yes, of course. Like all my choice decisions with my wife a lot of times do. So, but yeah, I mean, so, you know, in that business, you know, like what is, I know that you guys also like your wife is also involved in your business,
Yep.
which is, let's say my ex-wife or my first wife and we were involved in business together and clearly not anymore. But I know it's very, very difficult to work in family. So, I mean, you know, talk about that. And you guys do pretty well. I think you guys are in like separate rooms.
Yeah, we're
you
definitely
know?
separated. And I think too, it's like everyone has their strengths. And she is the best implementer.
I would agree with that.
And you cannot have I call myself a pusher. She would call it a visionary, but I'm a pusher, like probably more like you, like let's go, let's go, let's go.
That's
And
a double-edged sword sometimes.
yeah. And
with
so
that.
it's definitely been a transition. We've been married for 17 years, so never had major issues ever. And it's like one of those things where you definitely get to know each other better because you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Like Mortgage Free Life would not be where it's at without her because we would have been a complete mess. And so she's just so good at implementing the system and the process.
Yeah.
And it's been nice to watch. I think sometimes people don't give themselves enough credit for their skills
Right.
because they think, oh, it's just the salespeople. Or that's without her, Sean and Lamar and I would be nowhere.
Well, I'm telling you, man, and just working with her, with you guys, because you guys have also connected on with us as one of our agency partners through Austin.
Yeah.
And we just had Austin on a couple weeks ago on here. I was telling her that he looked like Pope from the Outer Banks, and she didn't know what I was talking about. I don't know if you've seen that show on Netflix. You guys need to watch it because he's like identical.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and Austin's done a good job, and he's appreciated everything you guys have done. So,
well, I mean, he's a really hard worker.
Yeah.
And, he speaks highly of you guys, which is, that says a lot about people, when they have somebody that does something to help them out, to be able to push them forward and advance them. And, it's not everybody reacts that way. Sometimes people are, they become complacent and feeling as though there's entitlement, and with him, he's just so humble. He's a good family man. He's a good friend. Like, he's a good person, all the way around. And I know that you guys are as well too. You have, Christy she is on it. Like, when it comes to anything and stuff. And I feel like I'm learning a lot from her because of those things. I mean, we can all learn from each other on different stuff.
Without a doubt.
And then seeing the complementary piece that you bring into the scenario over here, that's what the teamwork is all about, man. Because when you have all the tires going in the same direction, your vehicle is moving along. And I have zero doubt in my mind that's the reason why you guys have become so wildly successful. So let's talk about, real quick here, Meet the Teacher night and me getting hit in the back of the head by some random person that threw, I think it was a pen or something like that over with that. Our kids, come to find out, go to the same school. And so I'm like walking down the hallway and I'm talking to my wife, and all of a sudden I was like, man, I like get hit in the back with friggin' something. And I'm like, what in the hell? Like,
Who is this idiot?
Right. We're at like a Catholic school. I'm like, you know, that sort of thing. So, but anyway, I turn around and sure enough, it's you and Christy in the back there. And then, knowing your son as well, and how involved you guys are with your family. I mean, it's such a good balance, and people don't realize how really difficult that is. I was just having a conversation with my daughter last night about, like, she checks up on me. Like, she keeps me, my daughter has been a blessing that was put into my life. I am not like physically Maddie's creator. As I joked, when she was 5, I put her on payroll as I joked, and literally I know how really serious that is. See prom dresses, and you understand. But this little girl, she came into my life. She was 2 years old when her and Angie came together as a package, and I was fortunate enough to be able to adopt Maddie. And be able to, as I joked, again, put her on payroll. She don't like when I say that, but, and I'll tell you, man, raising a girl is so different than raising boys.
Yep.
And then, like, we're going to places with her that I love my boys, but I don't see much light at the end of the tunnel for like a National Honor Society night for them. You know what I mean? So like, they're cut from my cloth over here, right? So, I was joking because her last name has always been in some ways brought in to the scenario, right? And it was National Honor Society night, and she was mentioned twice in the brochure of people that were called down to the front of the stage. And she's like, well, what do I do? You know, like, do I go down there for the first or the second or both? And I'm just like sending her like freaking Bob Barker memes, like, come on down, you know, and all that. And my wife's just getting livid pissed at me. She's just like, this isn't funny and stuff, you know, and I'm like, you better enjoy the moment.
That'll be
over
funny
here
later.
You know, so, but yeah, I mean.
Well, I didn't know that about you, and that she was
biologically not my daughter.
Yeah, I always tell people with our two oldest that I was Christy's second choice.
Okay.
She doesn't really like that. She doesn't think it's funny, but the two older ones are not technically mine either, but I raised them since they were young.
I mean, that's just the thing. I mean, I really, looking at it on here, you know, when it comes to raising kids, you know, there is no, I should say, bloodline on that.
Yeah.
They just, you know,
Absolutely.
It's like, I feel like God put us together for me to be her dad. And, you know, I've raised her no different than my own. In fact, she's quite the pusher. Like we said, you know, she does it in a really different way. Maddie has like a really dry sense of humor. And she will, like, I'll just be like, wait a minute. Like, it's like I'll catch myself being like, did my salesmanship, whatever, just get thrown back on me?
Right.
Did you just sell me on that? You know, so like, I'm going to give you an example here. Prom dress. Okay. So let's talk about this. So she went prom dress shopping and she found this prom dress and she was like, what do you think, Dad? Like, what do you think, Mom? And I was like, you look absolutely beautiful in that, you know, and I'm not even thinking in the back of my mind. Actually, it was funny. My wife come up with it of how much does it cost?
Right.
Well, so she was just like, think of how good this looks. And, you know, she was just like, just keep remembering that and how happy it makes me and all that, you know, and I'm like, and then she mentioned something about, I guess the store will not sell the same style of dress.
Yeah.
Like, how privileged of a world are we starting to live in here?
Right.
For like these things where it's like, so we get down to the ultimate question of how much is it? Well, it's $1,500. And I'm like, you're going to wear this thing like one night and like throw it in a bag in the closet for it to collect dust for the rest of its life. She's like, oh, no. Like, there's shops that, you know, you sell it to, and I've already got somebody that I already got slated out as a buyer and all that sort of thing. So we had given her a budget, right? And I thought the budget was pretty generous. I was like,
it wasn't $1,500.
No, it was not $1,500. No, but I was like $300. So like, I thought that was pretty
that's pretty good.
I mean, you can get I might get a decent suit. Maybe, I mean, you know, it's not Versace or something like that, but for like one night, I'm going to look crispy. I'm going to look good, right? I'm going to look good. So 3-piece suit. You can go out to Mo out at, you know, my tailor that's out at Mid Rivers Mall and stuff, you know. So shout out to Mo. But
let's go, Mo.
Right. So we have, that's a whole nother story in itself. And I'll go into that too. So, I mean, like this girl was throwing like these sales moves at me left and right of why the value was there as opposed to looking at the price and looking at, well, what I'm going to get on it on a return. And I mean, she was like hitting a wall every single time. And then she said to me, well, I'll just use my own money then. Okay. So I already know what that means. That means that I'm going to throw it all down on black over here.
Right.
And then I'm going to be coming to you to fill my gas tank and get food and stuff for the rest of the month. Right. Because, you know, she's a lifeguard. She don't make a ton of money.
Right.
And the pool is inside, so it's all year round. But anyway, with that being said, I learned that valuable lesson. And then another fun part was, so we mentioned Mo. So Mo is like, he's just so serious and so hardcore. He'll just be like, like your suit, he'd be like, oh no, that makes you look fat, you know, or he'd be like, okay, you figured it out. Okay, to the register, like that. And like, okay, you pay now. Like, and so she had brought her date up there. This was like a couple years ago. And I had the little talk with the date, you know, had just mentioned what the forecast could potentially look like for his life and how, like she needed to not be touched and, just talk to him about the adverse effects on his health and his potential life, and how that looked for him on things. Right. And Mo joined in and he was just like, we cut it off. He was like, you touch it, we cut it off. And this kid like literally like went home in terror and stuff. And he was like, okay, I won't touch her at all.
That's not a bad thing.
So, right. I mean, I wasn't mad about it, but, man, I'm telling you, like I was saying,
That's
like
funny.
raising kids is so different. And these days with that stuff, like we got some good kids, man, you know? And I know you guys are involved pretty heavily in sports too.
Yeah, I'd say we're blessed to have great kids. I can't imagine what parents go through that have kids that have addictions or things like that. It's not their fault, but I just can't even fathom it.
And it's more common these days, than anything with that. I was just watching here this morning about like these kids getting hooked on fentanyl and all kinds of different stuff that's being, brought in. And it's, I feel like there's a lot of blending of the different types of communities in a lot of ways. And that was one of the reasons why we decided to kind of send Maddie over to a private school. And we're going to do the same thing for the boys. They're just not at that point to where they gotten serious enough.
Yeah.
Like elementary school is pretty safe, pretty low key at this point.
We homeschooled until they went to high school. So
holy cow, man. I'm telling you, man, like these kids are relentless on each other today. Yeah. And it's not the same way. Like we can't just go and like beat somebody's ass out on the freaking on the playground and handle things and take things into our own hands and matters. Like we used to and stuff, like we used to just settle stuff differently and that was the end of it. And then it was over.
Yeah.
Now, all these kids, they got social media and everything's taken to social media and it's piled on them. And, I've seen how that's really affected many different kids because of that. My kids in itself, and I'm not great when it comes to telling them like how they should, I should say defend themselves or whatever. I was like, well, just handle your business,
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I got, my wife hit me up, be like, well, guess what Chase did here today? He slammed a kid's head into the wall or something. And I'm like,
good.
Well, what's the backstory there? And she was just like, apparently some kid was touching him or picking on him or something like that. And I was like, you're from East St. Louis. Like, come on, man. I was just like, so he got annoyed and I asked him and he was like, I asked him 3 times to stop. And the 4th time I wasn't having it no more. So I took matters in my own hands. He seems all sweet and nice and cuddly and everything. Oh no, he's like a little pit bull inside of him. He's got his mom's temper and his dad's good looks. Right.
So, yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, I mean, and we're getting calls from the school of like, hey, your kid like slammed this kid's head into the wall or something. And I'm like taking him out to ice cream afterwards because he defended himself. It's just a totally different world. You're not allowed to defend yourself or do things now these days. But anyway, let's get back into about you and your business. So you mentioned the specialty of how you're able to help people with should I say financial planning?
Sure. That's
okay.
fair.
So debt management, financial planning, and getting into where you can show them how to be able to save and then take that and reinvest it over into something that's going to make you more interest, right?
Yeah. The bottom line is taxes rule the world, right? So
right.
How can you save someone from paying taxes legally?
Yeah.
And really it's deferring, right? Like
I mean, you're talking to Mr. Montana LLC over
Yep.
here, you know, so I'm all about it. You know, the thing is that we all are made to also feel naughty about if we're saving something on taxes. You know, it's like we were just talking about an Escalade, right?
Yep.
And the 179 rule that
Yep.
a lot of people don't know exists. And that started kind of coming down and going away. And actually, I don't know if it's even still a thing. It's been a couple of years. So I guess that would have been, it was supposed to come down like 20% or something every year.
Yeah.
And then eventually go away. So I don't know where we're at on that. But yeah, it used to be right off the gross tonnage
Yeah.
of the vehicle.
6,000 pounds or more and you're golden.
Right.
Do you have a lot of, is a lot of your audience, would you say insurance agents and
Yeah.
things like that? Maybe it'd be cool
Financial.
to give them just a few ideas like that could literally change their business. If you're good with that.
Yeah, I want people to know how to get in touch with you because that's the whole point here is to highlight you and what you do. I've watched it, you know, play out in front of me by myself, you know, and you're you're in the inner circle, right?
Yeah.
You're one of the trusted, the ones that are vetted, the ones that I know are not going to take you down the wrong avenue.
Mm-hmm.
What Matt says, you know, can be trusted for truth, you know, and that he's going to try and help you to be able to get to your goals and different things. There are very few people, when I say very few, I mean like less than a handful of people that have made that inner circle.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. I think like a lot of it is agents that are new or older. All of us don't know what we don't know. We don't know about the Montana LLC. We don't know. Like everyone can bring value.
Yeah.
And so if we would just more collaborate with each other and bring value to each other, I think it could be great. And I always feel bad. Like, I mean, I know final expense and mortgage protection works, and I just can't imagine dialing for 12 hours, right? Like I can't fathom dialing for 12 hours. So and agents always think, well, it's not that they don't know people. It's they don't know what to say to bring value that everyone else isn't. And so how could they bring value? And I think there's a couple really good examples. And one is like, because everyone wants to get in front of the big guy, right?
Yeah.
But what are they going to say? Let me review your life insurance? Because they're going to be like,
you can't judge a book by its cover too.
Yeah.
You know, I used to sell life and health way back in the day. I was a debit agent, right?
Yeah.
The ones that know what that is, you don't want to be a debit agent. Okay. So, you know, that was where I started out early, but my biggest sale for life insurance came out of a single wide trailer.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I could tell you all kinds of different stories on that, but it's what I always used to say with people, and I still say it here today, is you want to have some structure to where you're headed on things, right? On any kind of sales type of methods.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be a salesperson. You want to be an advisor and a trusted friend, you know? You want to be somebody that brings value to that person, but and increases your value, you know,
Right.
of what you're pushing. But if that person doesn't have a need for it, then don't push it on them.
Yeah.
You know? But there's a reason why people respond to different things. You know, the leads is so different. Like you were saying, the dialing thing, we used to do that. Now, like you get a summons
leads
for
coming
it.
to you now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like now it's more fishing and picking what's on your, you know, your hook for your bait. And I say bait, not like as a, you know, derogatory thing, but now it's different. It's more of an inbound response, that kind of thing. I mean, I can remember my first leads. I'm like, well, who do I call? What do I do? And they're like, here's your centers of influence. You know, tell us who, you know, your mom is and her mom and your doctor and your lawyer and, you know, this and who's your grocer and, you know, who's your favorite gym teacher and all that kind of stuff. And before you know it, you're missing Christmas cards.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to talk about that crap, right? You know, it used to be that the saying was, you always know who the salesmen are in the room because they're out marketing themselves 24/7.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I mean, the first time that I asked for leads, I had a white pages that was dropped in front of me and said, "There's your leads.
Yeah.
Get to dialing." You know, it's not the same as it was today. And I used to literally go door to door knocking on people's doors. And then we would do this $1,000 accident policy. And I'd just be like, "Hey, Matt, you know, Christy, we just talked to her. She's your neighbor, in case you forgot." Right. And she wanted to give this $1,000 accident plan to you that like probably would have never covered you unless you were wearing like a turquoise shirt on a Wednesday at 4:00, you know, with polka dots on it or something. Right. And then you start looking at your feet, you start walking inside, and it was very forceful and it was very, uneasy for a lot of people. And, you know, you got a lot of resistance, a lot of chargebacks.
Yeah. And I think that's where too, like, if you could just educate people and they can keep doing what they've always done, but have 2 or 3 things where they can like make some big sales. And I think one good example that everyone should learn, like, and I think the people that lose are the people that have to have perfection until they say, "Hey, let me go do it." We ran across it was a $3 million target sale this year. And it was only because I wasn't afraid to ask a question. So there's a guy like, and there's 2 or 3 questions to ask on this first idea. Is just like an LLC. If someone owns a business or if they own even property, I know you own a lot of property. Yeah. With properties, people are going to 1031 exchange, right? Until they're done 1031 exchanging. But a lot of farmers and people like that, they never sell their stuff because they don't want to pay the tax, right?
Yeah.
So we had a guy, he sold a business for $150 million.
It's a good payoff.
And the taxes on $150 million at a minimum 60? Are going to be, 40, 50, 60 million.
Yeah. Put in life insurance.
So there's a legal way for him to defer, and we don't give tax advice, just in case this is in the public. We do have attorneys and CPAs that do all that, but in the end, he paid taxes on 1.5 million of the 150 million. And he legally was able to get out his 150 million.
You know, it's like when I talk about the Montana LLC stuff, right? So we like really specialize in that, and it kind of just happened. I don't know with that. But what I try to say is, you know, we're kind of made to feel naughty for saving money. These are legal loopholes that are available that not everybody knows about. And many people are uneasy about trying to use this because, again, they're made to feel as though that, well, I shouldn't be saving money. You know, I should be paying like everybody else. And, you know, like we've been conditioned to think that that's what we need to do. If you don't have to pay sales tax on your vehicle, you don't have to pay personal property tax, and there's no inspections, you don't have to sit in line and go walk through the little maze that they got in the line with a bunch of cranky people that don't want to be there, that don't have half of the forms. Then you get up there and they're like, "Oh, you missed this one form, so you're going to have to do it all over again." Then you get right back on the hamster wheel and you freaking go round and round again. Nobody wants to do that crap.
Yeah.
There's a reason why people at the DMV office that are looking back at you as you're trying to register stuff, like hate their life. It's because like they don't want to be the person that's like, "Hey, you forgot this." So, because people freak out. I watched it happen. Yeah. They're like, "Man, I did everything here, and here." It doesn't need to be that difficult.
Right.
I think it was just a couple years ago that they actually put like a freaking like a credit card processor in there. And now you can run a credit card on the thing. You know, before it was like you sit there and, you know, you're over at the ATM machine like you're on the east side getting ones out, you know, and it's just things they're made to be so difficult and they don't need to be difficult. So it's like if you have these advantages, why would you not use them? People have been doing like the Delaware thing for advantages that like there's a lot of different things, and the Montana thing, that's like an old school, you know, good old boy trick with that that I was around people and they showed me the way on those things. And like you said, the very, very wealthy people have found ways to be able to use the tax system to their advantage. And that guy would have been out, I mean,
A lot of money.
yeah, $70+ million probably.
Yeah.
And now they can utilize that. It's like the 1031 exchange, with your home. You're taking that. So I noticed different things in this because I recently just used this. Yep. I had to. That's a whole nother story, but I had to do that. We sold our house. I thought I was going to be able to take this and be able to put it into all these different various things. No, I had done some loans during COVID that prevented me from having access to do different various things. So the SBA blocked it, put a lien on the property, and said, you can go ahead and you can move it through a 1031 exchange to another property, but you can't take the money out.
Right.
And then the other thing was, what is really a mystery to me of this is like, but you can borrow down to like where your property's, you only got 20% value in your property,
Yeah.
Through a HELOC or whatever. It just baffled me, but I found some loopholes, right? Because I got the Matt Evans mind, right?
Right.
So you can create a special purpose entity, aka an LLC, and you can be able to pay that special purpose entity for something that is used, such as like furniture or renovations or different things. And I mean, everything down to the way that it has to be written, like the way that it was sold, the way that the title was sold, and the way that the new one has to be bought. There were so many manipulations to the rules that it was like, if you slipped off the tightrope, you were going to pay all these taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that people are looking for ways to save money? Because they've been taking it all these years for so long. Yeah. So you're just showing them how to be able to take advantage of things that are available to them. That's the same thing we do.
And showing agents, I don't care if you're 22, you show someone how to save $50 million, they're going to listen. Like just learn 2 or 3 ideas. It doesn't it's not that hard.
And you're becoming a wealthy person.
And what do you think that guy's going to do for us?
Right.
He's going to, he knows other people.
Yeah, exactly. You're selling 150 million. Yeah, damn right. You know, and a lot of other people, right?
And I think another good one too, just to learn, is there's something called reinsurance, and I won't go into the details, but the bottom line is you could go to any business owner, and let's say you guys gross $20 million. You can show them how to put away up to $2.8 million, up to 15% of their gross just for the owner. He can discriminate. It's not like a 401k or defined benefit plan or anything like that. And his cost is going to be 4 to 8% instead of whatever his taxes might be, 20, 30, 40, 50%, depending upon corporate and individual and all that. So there are ways to get in front of business owners that people they just need to learn 2 or 3 ideas, and they'll be able to get in front of anybody.
And this is just one of the tricks that Matt knows, how to be able to save you a boatload of money and be able to put it away and put it back into your own pocket. I'm telling you, guy, you have like an encyclopedia of different ways to be able to save people. It blows my mind. Like that's because you'll just be like, oh yeah, just put it over here and that's fine. And you can be able to use this and you can borrow from this. Life insurance stuff. A lot of people don't realize that like life insurance is a really, really good way to be able to defer, or I shouldn't say defer because we're not talking about, like the IRAs and things like that. It's a way, you don't pay taxes on life insurance and you don't pay taxes on money that you borrow against. Right. So stick it over into a whole life, cash value life insurance, borrow against it when you have to. Mm-hmm. I think there was a saying, it was like, borrow, live, die, or something like that. It was like you invest or you put your money into the life insurance policy, you utilize it to be able to help you to borrow against and become your own bank. Mm-hmm. And then you die and the cash benefit kicks over in there and pays everything off that you put away for. And then people are able to take that and transfer it, and trust and things. Do you do that like with the trust and things like that? Yeah,
we, well, I can't say too much here on the trust, but yeah, we do some things on the trust.
You work together with some financial advisors for maybe that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I don't know if you would agree, but on the marketing side, you know, how do you, like everyone wants to get in front of CPAs, right?
Yeah.
And what do you bring to a CPA? You know, let me refer people to me. I'll take you to lunch. You bring them reinsurance. You bring them an LLC. You bring them the ability. You can make a CPA 6 figures just through reinsurance.
You know, reinsurance is something in the vehicle service contract business. You know, it's something that is very, very big in that. And it's kind of a non-discussed sort of thing on that. So yeah, as far as that goes, but, anyhow, as far as, the reinsurance goes with that stuff, I mean, I didn't realize that there was so many different tax benefits in that aspect of things.
You're literally going to own your own insurance company. And it's a great way to insure some things you don't have insured. And then it's also a great way to defer income for retirement.
Yeah.
And then what are we going to do in 10 years when there's $20 million in there? To get, like, the key isn't always how do we save the money, but then what is our exit plan, right? So after the reinsurance side, what are we going to do with $20 million? So you defer the taxes on the 20, but you can take it out. We're going to do the LLC, right? Yeah. Or you're going to do a certain kind of trust that we do. But, and then I also think too, like CPAs, any CPA that wants to argue, or initially, we can usually bring them over as good referral sources because they can go check the tax code and we can tell them what the tax code is. It's just that they don't know it. And that's not, you know, something bad to say towards them. It's just, we all need help. Like I learned from you, I learned from everybody, and I don't mind it. And then I think too on the, like those are kind of big concepts and big ideas for bigger clients. The mortgage-free life side has been probably the most amazing side of the business because you can literally show someone how to pay their house off in 5 to 7 years, save over $100,000 of interest, and empower them to change their life. Yeah. And it's not, what does everyone do? They market to what they want to sell, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
This is not, the first thing people think is this is infinite banking. We did not build the strategy around life insurance. We built the strategy around their problem, which is solving the mortgage problem. The life insurance is merely an add-on. It's like, would you like fries with that? Literally, that's how easy it is because you've done the right thing up front. And sometimes when that life insurance isn't a good fit, it's not a fit. But the strategy is still a good fit to show them how to pay off their house, right? Right. And so mortgage-free life, I think, will change so many people's lives, and no one else has it. And I don't say that lightly because literally no one in the industry has it because they didn't figure out how to put two things together that we did into a calculator where agents just literally put the info in and it shows them their payoff and how quickly it'll do. But it also includes the retirement planning side. And I won't go into too many details on the mortgage-free life side, but it's a pretty powerful program, I would say. We had a guy, he called me last night. He has agents crying to him because they thought their careers were over. Because they're like, they've gone to all their friends. They've gone like, what differentiator can you bring? That's where I think we do okay at is how can we innovate and bring different ideas? And that guy got 8 referrals from one client because of the mortgage-free life stuff. You
know, a lot of people don't even ask for referrals. Right. That's a big problem. If you're afraid to ask for referrals, you didn't do your job. Right. You know, and, you know, because if you did somebody a solid, you should have, well, one, they should be trying to give you referrals. Right. But if you did your job the first time and you did it, if, you know, you help them and you put them into a better product or situation, it shouldn't be that difficult to be able to ask, you know. And I mean, again, that's where we talk about the structure of the sale, you know, and the sequence of the sale, you know, as you go up, plateau, cool down, and then exit, you know, and there is an exit strategy. I try to teach our guys how to ask referrals without asking for referrals.
Okay.
So with our stuff, social media is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times what I'll just be like, hey, you're on social media, you know, yeah, hey, add me as a friend, you know,
Yeah.
follow my page or something, look me up. Here's all my information. And then, hey, if you don't mind, throw a shout out at me,
Yeah.
you know, and tell them, you know, if you don't feel that way, then don't do it. But
Right.
but throw a shout out and tag me in it, right? So they'll do that. And what that does is it attracts other people to that shout out. And then I'll comment on just like, hey, if anybody else needs some help, here's my contact information. And birds of a feather flock together and they find ways. You didn't ask for a referral, you asked for a friendship.
Yeah.
And you, sorry.
And if friends don't want to see friends succeed, then I don't want them as a friend.
That couldn't be more of a true statement on there. I've done a lot of protecting my energy.
Yeah.
And I actually learned a lot of that from Joey, of talking to him about protecting your energy and who you're around. And if you're not bringing value into my life, then you don't need to be in my life.
Right.
If I'm not bringing value into your life, vice versa, I don't need to be in your life. I want to be able to see the people around me succeed and grow and help each other, not the opposite, not be hateful, not be, you know, like jealous or anything like that. You know, it's like, obviously, you know, I'm a big enthusiast of exotic cars and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a big Ferrari guy, big Porsche guy. But some people see that. And something that was said to me that actually kind of, it really resonated to me is that it's representation of achievements. You know, it's not necessarily arrogance. It's not this or it's not that. We are in a career that's self-employed and self-generated. We have to be our own reward system.
Yeah.
And those are achievement points. It's like a watch or anything else on that stuff. You know,
who's to say what's right for one person and wrong for another person? It's in the end, I think it comes down like I've never been a car guy, a clothes guy, a watch guy, but that doesn't make it wrong for anybody else.
Right.
You know? It's just people are different and it's okay. We run a inner city bow hunting ministry and that's just what I love. Like I think
did
it's
not
okay.
Ever, like, I'm learning stuff over here, Matt. Now you're a bow hunter. I had no idea.
Well, the funny part about the bow hunting ministry is that we walked into it was called K-Build. It's downtown. It's like the worst of the worst places, right?
Yeah.
And we walked into this room of about 60 kids, and Mike Armstrong, who's a buddy of mine, he's a sponsored bow hunter. And the funny part about the whole thing is Mike happens to be, in the way God works, a 6'5" African-American football player. And our sons happen to be friends. And I'm like, hey, I want to learn how to bow hunt. And I just said, I might as well bring some people along with me. I said, why don't we go to the city? And
You're talking about Josh's K-Build?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Or K-Life, I'm sorry. K-Build.
Okay.
Yeah, Josh, I was thinking K-Build. K-Life.
Yeah, K-Life.
And so I just decided, why don't we go bless some kids and teach them? And so it's turning into this big thing. But the funny story is we walk into this room, first time we've ever met these kids. I look at Mike, he looks at me, and I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. Because they were like going nuts. And I'm talking I think I was talking on Joshua 1:9. And are we good?
You're good.
And Mike was going to talk on the bow hunting. And so I get up and I start talking. It's the first time I've ever talked on anything with the Bible where the kids in high school stopped and were asking questions. Because you know kids, they're like usually quiet. And so it was really cool. But then Mike gets up and the K-Life people said it was the first time that they've ever had to stop the questions because Mike was talking about encounters with bears and all this stuff. And these kids were so excited. And so we did like every Monday, we would go down there for 2 or 3 hours, teach them to shoot. And we started with little bows and got to the bigger bows. And then the long story short is we took them out to go hunting. for a couple days, and it was turkey season, so that's all we could get. And people are like, "You're crazy. These kids are never going to hit anything with a bow and a turkey." Right?
I mean, that's one of the most difficult ones, I'm told.
Yeah, but what people didn't realize, and what I didn't, I had such, like, I feel like I'm a pretty faithful person, but I had such little faith. So we get there, and we're in the blinds, so to speak, Mike, and we have multiple adults with kids. 3 hours, we see nothing, and I'm like,
You got to call them in, right? With like the
well,
little
yeah,
scratcher thing.
we're trust me, we're trying, and so we see nothing. But the thing is, 90% of those kids had never really left the city. They'd never been camping. They'd never been doing the stuff we had done the previous night and that day.
Yeah.
And so when we saw nothing, they're like, okay, let's go do something. So we start heading back to the thing, and there's this pond. And I know this isn't going to go over well, but I hate fishing.
Okay.
I can't stand fishing because...
Teach their own, whatever
Yeah,
works. Yeah.
But all these kids were so excited about fishing. And I didn't know it at the time, but we got on video every single kid catching the first fish they've ever caught. And so, like, that lack of faith really was then shown, like, hey, these kids just caught their first fish and they're 17, 18. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah, it was, I'm sure, a big event for people, you know?
They
Like,
loved it. They absolutely loved it. And now we're just kind of taking that and making it bigger and bigger. Sorry,
so,
I don't know how we went down that rabbit hole, but
No, that's all right. I mean, this is what, there's no agenda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of the things I do want to address in here is talking about you're looking for agents, right? Or you're always trying to add to your, arsenal of agents. I highly recommend Matt, his company, your company, to be able to latch onto, because like I said, I've watched it. I've seen it in action. I've seen these guys have really good structure under your wing and really good leadership under you guys. And, like I've seen a lot of that with Austin. And I realize that Austin, he's definitely a standout. Okay.
Without a doubt.
He's
a rock star.
He really is. The guy is just, awesome. But with that being said, I also believe that if you have the wrong people, see the Cardinals management, right?
Right.
And then I'm waiting next year to watch freaking Tyler that just got traded to Boston.
Tyler O'Neill?
Yeah, Tyler O'Neill. I bet you the guy jacks like 60 home runs or something like that, and like
Green Monster's pretty
has
close.
like the most awesome standout year and stuff. Sorry, man. I got
good.
Paperwork coming over. We have this house that we're in the process. We got piled on with contracts. We're in the process of selling one of the investment properties. We're trying to be able to reinvest down in Florida or in Texas or Nashville and stuff. We're kind of looking to move into some of the other areas and not necessarily keep everything here in the St. Louis area. While we know that area, we're looking to expand. And, I picture myself living out my days in front of a beachfront. Okay.
Right.
Right. With like SPF 1000 on.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to need a little.
I burn in the moonlight, bud. So you've got where we had like 7 contracts that piled on. And then there was FHA loans, and FHA can be a very, very tricky scenario with that. And we had a couple of people that were doing FHA, and we had this one particular agent that he just kept offering more and more money. It was like he had just no budget. And before I knew it, he was like $50,000 over what the ask was of these things.
Wow.
And this guy, he's just like relentless in his pursuit to be able to find this particular buyer's, their home. And, I had each person put a story in and different things. And I wasn't just going off of pricing. I wanted to be able to essentially cater maybe to the underdog this time. Obviously, I want to make a good amount of money on the home,
Right.
like that plays out for me. But I also feel like there's another purpose with that. And man, right near the day before we had like 30 showings confirmed. Okay. My agent goes over there and she was like, hey, you got like water coming in downstairs and everything. And there was, I guess the flashing under the deck wasn't done right. It was like a DIY project for this person. And so we had to go in there and fix all that. We had to tear up all the carpet and everything else. And then we're trying to be like, hey, this is a good deal, guys. So like, she's like, we should have canceled all the showings. But I think if we had not had that, I honest to God, and I'll fix it right, you know, but I feel like if we had not had that, I think we would have had probably 30 contracts on that house.
Yeah.
It was just a hot commodity. It was a really great area. Schools are awesome, that kind of thing. And, you know, it was, but holy cow, man, like my phone's blowing up with, you know, okay, they just came back with another offer, sort of thing. And, you know, and you have to cater to all the offers and, you know, so we're shutting it down today and accepting, we've already accepted an offer of it's a couple that, they're wanting to start a family and they're in an apartment and, you know, they want to be able to, again, start their family and, you know, talked about a couple of different things. Actually, funny enough, as I was over there, because I'm the one that went over there, if you can picture this, right?
I think we had a meeting scheduled that day and you had to cancel.
I did.
Because of this.
Because of it. You're 100% correct. I'm over there with my, like, it's the vacuum, it's a steam vac for the car. And I'm thinking it's like not that big, right? Oh no, I'm way off. So I'm down there like trying to steam back all this stuff. And I'm finally like, screw this. So I ran up to Home Depot and I got myself like a regular steam vac sort of thing. And then, you know, tried to make sure that nothing else was getting in there. And then called a buddy of mine that, you know, he has a landscaping company. I was like, hey, I think you know, from what I'm seeing over here, the gutters got blocked up and, you know, the leaves and everything else and needs to be cleaned out. And there was some truth behind that. There was actually this like huge ice freaking wand that like came out of the freaking gutters. It was monstrous.
Way overdue.
Yeah. So, and then there was, like I said, leaves and everything else with that. But the kicker there was the flashing and trying to be able to make sure that we got it all fixed. So we got all that. We damage control as much as we could on that aspect to where it was, I would say, not terrible. It was noticeable, but it wasn't terrible. And we let everybody know. But, you know, it's how you respond to it. I mean, I could have freaked out. I mean, I guess internally I did kind of freak out a little bit, you know, and, but yeah, like I said, I mean, the house will go for well over ask.
That's great.
Like when I say well over ask, I mean, like, you know, thank you, Vince. They kept putting in the FDA or FHA offers over here, right? Because we were using that as ammunition.
Right.
And then, yeah, like I said, I mean, it was wildly popular. But let me get back to the stuff real quick with you guys. So how do agents, if they want to link on to you, how do they get in touch with you to be able to join in under your agency? Because a lot of these guys are looking for a place to call home. They're looking for a place where they have resources. They're looking for a place that they can be able to call home.
Yeah, I would say if education, value, differentiators, and I'd say people that are going to do the right thing no matter what are important. If someone comes and the number one thing they always want to talk about is payout, it's just not going to be a fit. Not that they're not paid out very well, but typically those types of people, you're never going to make them happy. Like on that deal we did last year, we paid the referring agent over $500,000. And we wouldn't have gotten the case without him, and he wouldn't have gotten the case without us. and everyone was appreciative. So as long as people come from that standpoint, you know, they can contact me online. They can email me, matt@mortgagefreelife.com.
Okay.
But I just, you know, we look for PNC agents. We look for independent PNC agencies that want to add. We have a PNC agency that's doing Mortgage Free Life. They did over 200,000 in a life on their first 12 months. And because they already know the client, right? Like,
Well, there's a cross-sell opportunity there.
It's such an easy layup. I can't describe how easy Mortgage Free Life is for the right client. And then just financial advisors and life agents that want to differentiate themselves. And we're okay if it's not a fit, right? Like, let's not waste everyone's time.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I love that about you guys too. You guys are very direct. And I've sometimes
Christy's very...
I appreciate that though. A lot of people don't.
I give her such a hard time because we'll have like a big sale and she'll be like complaining over $5 and I'll be like, for crying out loud. But
I know.
It's how she is, but that's what makes her awesome, right? Like that's what makes her an implementer because these are the facts. This is how it's going to go. This is the process, and we're not going to deviate from the process.
Her attention to detail is definitely a highlight for her, but I like that she is not afraid to. This is what makes good leaders.
Yeah,
you're not afraid to confront maybe a difficult situation. You're not afraid to discuss it, to have that conversation that is difficult. Like that's one of the hard confrontation is not for everybody.
Right.
And I can tell you, I like earlier on in my career, confrontation was like it would end up leading to what my employees used to joke around as epic firings. Okay. I'm not going to elaborate on that, but let's just say, it was not the strong suit for me. I would really invest into people and I would get upset when they didn't make it.
Yeah.
And when they would give up. And what I realized is that I wanted it more than they did.
Right.
And you can't make people want it more than that. And like you were saying, there's like when people come in, they're like, well, what am I getting paid? That sort of thing. It's kind of like the person that says, how much can you save me on my car insurance?
Yeah.
Or like, what's your rate? Or something like that.
Well, in the PNC agencies,
it's like avoid.
Yeah. They're doing probably maybe 10,000, 15,000 in life target. And maybe they're getting 120%. But I'm not joking. If I can show you to write 200 grand, why it shouldn't even be a conversation.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we try to be able to show people, how they can be able to change their life. They can be able to install into a system, follow the system, and see success out of it.
Yep.
And, some of that works for some people and then other ones it doesn't, and sometimes it's not all uniform,
right?
Too. Sometimes you have to make small adjustments in there to be able, it's like dealing with kids. Like, I got one that's trying to get a $1,500 prom dress and another guy that's trying to get V-Bucks on his freaking, on Fortnite. You know?
I think the bottom line, though, too, is like, we're going to make mistakes. So the people we want to deal with are people that are going to be like, I know you're trying to do the right thing. Let's deal with it and let's move forward, right? Because as you were talking earlier on how do you go to conflict? It's like, I always
that was a word I was looking for, by the way. Yeah.
I always tell like our kids or me, or when I think about it, it's like, if you do something because you want to show someone that you're the bigger, better person, then you probably shouldn't talk about it. But if it comes out of love, like from a good place, that's why I would never do it in front of other people, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
From a biblical standpoint too, it's like, you're supposed to take them aside. You're supposed to talk to them. And then if that doesn't work, then you're supposed to bring other people in. But a lot of times people want to feel good about themselves. And I used to do this too. And you just want to be like, say it in front of other people so they know that this person's the idiot. And you're like, well, that was the wrong way.
Grandstanding is never the way to go about it. We just mentioned about Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah.
And remember when Manager Ollie, he called him out in the, on the press or the press conference.
Yeah.
And he called him out. And everybody. And then, and I thought that was the wrong move. I thought it was a grandstand, an ego driven move. by a coach that's supposed to be helping you and supporting you and those sort of things. What I have found in dealing with conflict is that I'm not going to say I make a joke about it, but I'm like, Matt, we both know why we're sitting here. Nobody wants to have this conversation, but listen, we got this that's going on. How do we fix it? You know?
And I think
you
you
know
actually
not
do
supposed to-
really, you do good with conflict, because there was a situation with Christy and Austin, and to your credit, like, the bottom line, people just want people to own it. And if you own it and you like the person, we're going to move on. Let's just figure it out, right? I think you do I thought you did well with conflict. And ours wasn't really conflict. It was just trying to figure out the process. But
taken many years
could
to
have
be
been,
able to.
You could have handled it 1,000 times worse, but I thought you handled it perfect.
You know, like I said, it's conflict is a part of business, and the better you can learn to be able to deal with conflict, the better you can learn to deal with adversity, the better you're going to be in business.
Yeah.
You know, it's there's been many circumstances with things where, you know, somebody like we have these situations where, you know, the agents, they call it snaking. Okay. And, you know, we have where if a person calls back and maybe that agent isn't available, we have like a teamwork sort of thing, right? Well, the person be like, oh, they snaked my deal, you know, and they didn't get as much as I was supposed to get, or you know, and I don't want to have to pay them or whatever. And I was like, you weren't around. So this is a team effort. So you put into the tip jar.
Right.
Okay. And that's just the way that it is going to be. And if you don't like that, then hit the road, dude. Like that's sorry, you weren't here. And if you had been here, you weren't, you know, baking cookies or whatever the hell you were doing. Like this person helped you to get the deal because you wouldn't have had the deal. And I also bring it back. And a lot of times the agents, I had a big issue with this, with, you know, what I would call the lick and stick deals, right? So it's like, you know how like when you used to, do you have brothers?
Yeah.
Okay. So like, you know, you called Scoobies or like you know, like lick the muffin or something like that. And you claimed it as yours. And I was like, it doesn't work like that, because the next agent down the road, they're just going to, you know, like if they do it better than you, they're going to take it. So I think that there's like a fine line in there, right? If you're just like receiving somebody that's coming in that's like ready to pay or something like that, well, yeah, then that's a totally different deal. But if you have where a person calls back or becomes another lead again and doesn't know who that person was, and they didn't create enough of an impression to be able to make an impression on that customer, that's fair game, in my opinion, because you weren't going to get that deal anyway. It just happened to be that that person called back again. They were looking for another quote or whatever. Yeah, I mean, we have it happen more times than not, because I think people get hit with so many different advertisements and resources and things like that. So they just lose track. They're like, oh, I didn't even know this is the same place. Oh, okay. Well, I would rather buy from you anyway, you know, or something. Now, for me personally, like if I come across that, I just send it back to the agent. I'm like, hey, look, you know, person came back, whatever. And that's just what I do. But I'm saying, you know, like agents have got to do a better job of what I call fencing in your client. Okay. You've got to be able to create that impression on your client that they remember something about you and you remember something about them. And you have now earned that trust with your client to where, you know, I mean, I would argue that there's a lot of clients that I have that are super loyal to me and that I don't care what you throw at them. They're not going to come leave me, or at least without a little bit of resistance.
Yeah.
And I'll put that up against a lot of people all day long because, you know, like we're Facebook buddies, you know, we're like shooting a text message at, you know, 10:30 at night or something, you know, talking about like a new car that they got or something like that. These people are a lot of times friends of mine, and I've learned so much from different various people, like their lives. I just spoke about, I have a client of mine, Steven, actually, and this guy was on the 49th floor of the World Trade Center, and he fell with the building down to the bottom and somehow avoided death because he got trapped in a alleyway or a stairwell, right? And then he was able to somehow come out or whatever. The
That's
things that
amazing.
were said to me of like the things that he witnessed around of people like plummeting to their
Yes.
death
Oh.
and like, I mean, just like the hell that this guy went through. And then years later developed a brain tumor because of the stuff that had happened to him. I'm assuming
Some of the stuff he inhaled.
there's so many different people that have issues and problems with,
So what does he do now?
he is,
I'm always curious, like people that are facing near death, do they change their life? Like, not that he had a bad life before, but like, does he go do something miraculous?
no, he was in real estate.
Okay.
So he got into real estate, and, you know, there was some other things, you know, that I asked of, you know, like, and I probably maybe shouldn't have asked, but I don't know. I was curious, you know, and, you know, he told me some different things of conspiracies and different things that, I now believe are true, that kind of thing. But, you know, there was, I mean, I can't even imagine, man. I mean, you know, it's just like,
Gosh, he survived that. That's amazing.
It makes you thankful. Well, one, you're supposed to be here for some purpose, right? And it just so happens like the guy came through the Porsche Owners Club, right? So he started Long Island Porsche Owners, right?
Oh, okay.
And, you know, they'd go out and, you know, do drives and show their engines off and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And we got hooked up because he came through one of my different referral partners that he went through for the Montana stuff, actually. And then, you know, his mission has been to be able to help people and, you know, enrich their lives and that kind of thing. But as I've talked to this guy more and more, I really like him more and more as I talk to him. He's just a good, genuine guy. And I mean, wow, you know, surviving something like that, I mean, it makes you really like want to go home and just love on your family because you just don't know. Tomorrow's never given.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is not promised. And, you know, anything could potentially happen. And it was just, I mean, it's a mark on history that will, you know, never be forgotten for sure. One of the most awful terrorist events that ever happened. And I think we all, you know, can remember like where we were and what we were doing when those things happened. And it was like nothing we've ever seen. But to experience that in person and then to be a survivor of it, I mean,
that's amazing.
This guy was in the freaking building as the plane.
Yeah.
I mean, like it just, I can't even imagine.
There's a plan for his life. That's for sure.
I mean, without a doubt. And then had the brain tumor, and then like he's fully functional. Like,
that's amazing.
I mean, to not have any recourse from any of that and everything. I mean, holy cow, man.
Yeah.
You know, but I believe that, you know, people are put into our lives for reasons, and that, you know, we can, we get to meet people like this that have stories and backgrounds. And, you know, that's one of the things that's complementary to my ADD. I get to, you know, work with a new person every day, find challenges and, you know, try and be able to work through those things. So, we're running a little bit short on time here, but I thank you for coming on, and, you know, thank you for all the advice you've given to me and the friendships, and, you know, you've been an awesome friend to me as well. I'm looking forward to continuing to keep working with you.
Yeah.
And,
well, and thank you too. It's been fun. It's been nice getting to know you over the years, and appreciate the time and the friendship. And I think people that can collaborate together will always do more.
That's what is missing right now in any business is we need to band together. We need to collaborate. We need to help one another out, not be where we're trying to step on each other.
The scarcity mindset never wins.
Yeah, for sure. But
Thanks buddy.
Man. All right.